Fedora Productions.
Hello everyone, my name is Colin and the Game Boy. You've probably heard of it at some point. It launched in 1989 with 5 launch titles. There was Tetris, the most famous one. There was this breakout clone called Alleyway. There were 2 sports games, tennis and baseball. And then there was half our subject for today, that being Super Mario Land. Now, this was created, well, at launch, but it was created at R&D 1. Nintendo research and development team that usually creates hardware. In fact, they actually created the Game Boy itself, and this was being developed at the same time that the Game Boy was, as well as the other Game Boy launch games. And a thing is, Shigeru Miyamoto was at the time working on Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo, right here. So, yeah, he did not have any creative input on this thing whatsoever. So, while he was working on this thing just kind of slid out into store shelves, and Miyamoto couldn't really do anything about it. But it was created by Satoru Okada, as well as the legendary Gunpei Yokoi, both of them who also worked on the Nintendo Game Boy itself. Funny thing about the Game Boy's launch was that this game was actually supposed to be the pack-in title for the Game Boy, but the person who was responsible for the creation of the Famicom version of Tetris, Hank Rogers, he went up to them and went, it'd probably be better to pack Tetris in with the Game Boy instead of Super Mario Land, since Mario, you're only going to appeal to kids. And for Tetris, you're going to appeal to everyone. And it ended up being correct, because without Tetris, the Game Boy wouldn't have been as much of a success as it was. But without further ado, why don't we actually take a look at this thing and see if it's actually aged well. I mean, it's a 1989 Game Boy launch title. So, does it really age that well? And if you're wondering how I'm going to be looking at this thing, no, I'm not going to actually have me recording on a Game Boy system. I don't have an original Game Boy, so this is the best thing I got. Well, at least I have a Game Boy Advance as well, so yeah, but not going to use this to play games with. No, not at all. I'm actually going to be using this thing. The Super Game Boy for the Super Nintendo. It's basically an add-on that allows you to just basically take a Game Boy game if you're choosing. Wham! Pop it into a Super Nintendo cartridge. So, let's get started. Our story here is that an alien named Tatanga has invaded not the Mushroom Kingdom, but Sarasa Land, and is hypnotizing the inhabitants there. Tatanga also captures the princess of that kingdom, Princess Daisy. That's right, that Princess Daisy. This was the first game she appeared in, and she hasn't been seen in a mainline Mario entry since. The reason Tatanga kidnaps her is so he can marry her. Mario hears about this and sets off to Sarasa Land to stop Tatanga and to rescue Princess Daisy. Well, I mean, it's certainly different, but really it's just the same story as a couple of the other games, but, with a new coat of paint. Starting the actual game up, we get the title screen. Let me just change the color palette to resemble the Game Boy screen, press start, and good lord, everything is tiny. This was because R&D 1 wanted everything to fit on screen for the Game Boy's small resolution, and if you look at their other launch titles, they all try to accomplish this, with only Tetris, Tennis, and Alleyway looking the slightest bit normal. I feel that the level design sometimes suffers from this, with multiple points having enemies you couldn't see, or that some parts in a lot of levels looking almost identical to different parts in that same level, making the levels feel a bit repetitive. Also, since the Game Boy didn't have any color, they had to change how 1-ups would work. In, say, Super Mario Bros., a 1-up mushroom would be green, and now they're hearts. And super mushrooms are still mushrooms, making Mario larger. However, there is one new power-up in this game. It may look like a fire flower, but this is actually the Super Ball. Not only can it bounce up and down the screen, but it can also gather coins. And there's also really no, change to Mario's sprite, he just looks the exact same. Since we're in a different kingdom, that means new enemies, and by new, I mean all of them are new. Well, I guess you could argue the flies are returning enemies from the Mario Brothers arcade game, but all of them are new. That's not a Goomba, it's a Chibi-Bo. That's not a Koopa Troopa, it's a Knucklebone. But this is actually different since the shell explodes. And in actuality, the localization team didn't rename the enemies to their proper English names, like you may actually recognize the piranha plant's Japanese name, Pakun Flower. Though by looking around, most of the new enemies are, actually new, and are actually native only to their part of Sarasaland, like these seahorse things called Yorarenbu, the large number of Easter Island head enemies, these spiders called Tsu, these fish skeletons called Honen, and then these hopping girls called Pyeonpi, that are actually called Yangshi from Chinese mythology, which basically means hopping vampires. But then there's the greatest enemy of all. Chicken. I should probably mention all the kingdoms Mario progresses through, since they're very similar to real-life locations. The first one, Birabuta, strongly resembles ancient Egypt, with all its hieroglyphics, sphinxes, and background pyramids. The next kingdom, Muda, has a lot of water and resembles, well, either the island of Bermuda or the lost continent of Mu in the Pacific Ocean. It's kind of difficult to say. The Eastern Kingdom has some very eerie music and seems to be based off of Easter Island by looking at all the Easter Island heads or Moai statues. The final kingdom, or the Chai Kingdom, is very obviously based off of ancient China. Heck, the name is close to the spelling of China, just missing the N and swapping the two vowels. Either way, the patterns and loads of bamboo make it apparent, not to mention the music has that sort of Chinese feel. Since I've been mentioning it, the music in this game is definitely some of the best, not only for the Game Boy, but for the Mario series in general. The music was composed by Hirokazu Tanaka, who's done the music for tons of games, including yours truly's favorite. Each and every song in this game is an absolute masterpiece, from the title screen all the way to the end credits. Now it's time for gameplay, and there's not much I can really say besides quoting on the awkward physics. Mario feels really stiff, and it takes a little getting used to than something like Mario 1 or 2. Both of them. There's also a different type of level in this game that was actually supposed to be in the original but was scrapped and was never seen in the following sequels. What it is? It's friggin' Gradius. Yes, occasionally there will be stages where you're shooting on the Y-axis at enemies and such. Sometimes it's an actual biplane, and occasionally it's a yellow submarine. The boss fights aren't too hard, but they are actually different, so that's cool. When you beat each level, there's actually a top exit that allows you to play a Chutes and Ladders style game for lives and power-ups. There are only 3 levels in each kingdom, and since there's only 4 of them, that leaves only 12 levels in this entire game. Also, instead of a toad or something being the last level in each kingdom, it's a different enemy disguised as Princess Daisy, kinda similar to Darth Vader in Star Wars and Famicom. The final level is actually a shoot-em-up stage, and it's quite a hard one. After a bit, you then start shooting at a cloud for some reason, and then you actually encounter Tatanga, who is actually kinda easy. But after you beat Tatanga, you rescue Princess Daisy and fly into the sky in your rocket ship that Mario has suddenly, as the amazing ending music plays in the background. The end. So, as of my verdict for Super Mario Land 1, it's pretty good. There is something really charming about this game, just like the small resolution of how it just makes everything look tiny, how stiff the controls are. Yeah, those can be seen as flaws as well as it lacking a password or save feature, but it doesn't really need one because this game is short, like super short. And I think it's perfect for like a 90s family road trip or something like that. You don't really have much to do. You just have a Game Boy and Super Mario Land. It's just gonna be perfect for that road trip. You can play it over and over again. It's great. And this game actually was really popular. Like, no joke. This game sold more than Super Mario Bros. 3. one of the best Mario games of all time sold less than this thing. I just think that's funny. But it did spawn, like, multiple things besides, you know, selling more than Mario 3. Such as a manga that was obviously only available in Japan because 1989. And there was even a song by the Ambassadors of Funk. That's a real thing. Look it up and watch it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put a link to it in the description because I want you to actually see it. Unless you don't really care for it, then don't watch it. But if you do want to see it, it's down there. Now, what about the second half of this video? The sequel to Super Mario Land. Well, in 1991, R&D1 got a new team together. They were just like, alright, let's make another Super Mario Land game, and let's make it a little bit different. Thing was, the team that was working on it made it a bit too different. And it was too different for R&D1's liking, so they were just like, okay, scrap this build and restart it. Kind of like well, the only two examples I can think of are Mother 3 and Resident Evil 2. So, yeah, they did. And in 1992, Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, came out. And let's see if it's any good. Also worth noting is that the developers, after the first build was scrapped, took a bunch of inspiration from Super Mario World. So let's see how much they took the original Super Mario Land and Super Mario World and then crammed it into this Game Boy cartridge. I think it'll be fun. Also, you may notice that my copy is Japanese. That's just how I got it. Just don't worry about it. Anyways.
When you actually do play the game, you can even tell it's based off of Super Mario World. It looks like it in general. There's an overworld map with 6 different worlds to explore, with the capability of going to any of them at any time, I may add. There are bonus games, secret levels, the works. The story is actually different from saving a princess. Instead of trying to save someone else, Mario is trying to save something of his own. Everyone, this here is Mario Land, where Mario apparently lives. While Mario was saving Daisy in Sarasa Land, some creep took over Mario's castle in Mario Land, and put the people of Mario Land under his control with a spell. Not only that, but he has scattered the 6 golden coins of the castle all over Mario Land. Mario has to gather all the coins, get to his own castle, and stop this evil creep. This creep in question is actually Wario, making his debut in this game. Where Mario had the time to get an entire land to himself, let alone a castle, is beyond me. It must have been from all the coins he gathered in the previous games.
Unlike the first game, Mario's controls are more in line with games like Super Mario World or Super Mario Bros. 3, even having the spin jump by holding down and pressing A, or B if you're using the Type 2 control method on the Super Game Boy. The Super Ball is nowhere to be found, but the Fire Flower is back, along with a new power-up, the Carrot. Instead of changing color because, well, you know, it's on Game Boy, Mario has a feather on his head if he has a Fire Flower and rabbit ears if he gets a carrot. The carrot in this game functions as a glide ability, kind of like the cape in Super Mario World, but you have to repeatedly press the button instead of holding it down, but it also pretty much makes some stages go by pretty quick. Mario Land itself is split into zones. There's Mario's Castle, there's Tree Zone, which is the forest area, Turtle Zone, which is the underwater area, including the inside of a whale. Then there's Mario's personal shrine of himself, also known as Mario Zone, insert testicular joke here. Also, it features Nintendo's N&B blocks from the 60s, so, you know, that's cool. We have Pumpkin Zone, which is the spoopy area in this game, also features these enemies from Japanese mythologies, and Jason Voorhees. There's the Macro Zone, which is exactly what it sounds like, you're the size of an ant compared to your environment. Lastly, there's this hippo that launches us to the Space Zone, where Mario wears a spacesuit and has low gravity. There's also a place to play slot machine games to spend your coins. Some of the bosses are like this bird, an octopus, the 3 little pigs, and Tatanka actually makes an appearance in the Space Zone. Poor guy, he went from this final boss to the boss of the Space Zone, and since Mario Land 2 is open world, he could potentially be the first boss.
Finally, after you get all 6 golden coins, you go to Mario's Castle, which is easily the hardest level in the game. Obstacle after obstacle, room after room. This level is quite one of the biggest difficulty spikes I've ever seen in a Mario game. And when you get to the end, you're faced with Wario, who actually isn't too hard. But you're extremely tense because of the level itself, than, well, Wario himself. When you beat Wario, it gives you closure to this game, and you satisfy it yourself by reclaiming your own castle, and then the credits play, and it just feels absolutely incredible.
Now, overall, Super Mario Land 2, it's very ambitious, and I think it mainly succeeds at what it's trying to do. Now, comparing it to the first game, yeah, I think it's way better, because, you know, with way more levels, it looks much nicer, the controls are way, way better. It has a save feature, it has an overworld map for one thing, and the boss fights I think are way better, they're much more like, you know, unique, that's for sure. Both of these are good games, but this one right here, way better game. I'll just say that right now. Though I still think this one is still pretty cool, and this one is also a great game. Now, as how it compares to Super Mario World. Well, I mean, this is obviously the better game, but Super Mario Land 2 is still a great, fantastic time. I highly recommend it for your Mario and Game Boy collection, as well as the first game, but, you know, mainly 2. But I do think Super Mario World is still a superior game compared to this one. Now, I'm kind of done with Mario, so I guess I can take off this hat finally. But as for future intentions for Mario, I mean, maybe I'll do some more videos. I don't know. I kind of had an interest to look at some like Japan exclusive Mario games, but that's probably never going to happen. Or maybe if it does happen, it's going to be a very, very long way to go to actually, you know, do that. And well, as for now, I'm probably not going to do really many reviews right now. You know, maybe do something for April Fools, or you know, maybe something for my birthday. Have something planned for my birthday, though not sure that's going to happen, and still have something for Halloween planned. But as for other types of reviews, I do want to review the Sonic series sometimes, but right now I do want to work on some actual projects, like film projects mainly, and you know, I still have school to do, so yeah, I'll get that done. But anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Fuzzy Pickles.